two Montreal Island towns, have filed a challenge against Bill 96. They're hoping to be exempted from several articles of Bill 96. It's Hampstead and Tanamount Royal that say that certain articles contradict elements of the law which allow municipalities and government agencies to use other languages. You know what's been happening, right? When it comes to governments and crown corporations and them offering you service in a language that is not French. And if you're a municipality that has bilingual status officially, well, it still isn't that easy. So with more on this challenge, let's go. And they've joined us in studio, two lawyers that are behind this litigation. Frédéric Bérard is with us. He's a partner at Gattuso, Bouchard, Mazzoni, and a constitutional law expert. He's lead litigator on the file. Fred, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot.
And Dino Mazzoni's with us as well, senior partner, of course, at the same law firm. And, of course, you know him from CJAD 800, now 25 years of doing the Law of Our Land segment on Sunday mornings. Dino, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Elias.
Okay, so, Dino, I'll start off with Anglo. There are a lot of challenges to Bill 96.
Yeah.
So what's different with your challenge?
Well, fundamentally, what's different is that we take a very nuanced approach, and we are taking an approach which does not pit French versus English. And I want to be really clear about that. It was purposeful, and I could not start this segment without underscoring the courage and the vision of the two mayors that essentially brought us this mandate, Peter Malouf from Mount Royal and Jeremy Levy from Hampstead. And they were very clear about it. They said, look, we are Quebecers, and what we want to really challenge here is the fact that the rule of law has not been respected. And we have gone out of our way, Elias, we literally gone out of our way to not try to create this pitting of English versus French. I'll give you a simple example. We produced our brief in the French language. We have and I know this may look like a little bit of aesthetics, but there's an importance to this. Obviously, Fred, who's a top-notch litigator here in Quebec, who understands constitutional law better than anybody else, francophone by birth, lives in Mont-Laurier, from Mont-Laurier. What we want to do is get to a big audience here. Yeah. We want people, more than 6% of this province who speak the French language, to understand this motion that we filed. So that is kind of, if you want to call it, the look of this file and the feel. But the more to the specifics, what we're doing is we're calling into question the fact that the government of Quebec has this law. It's called the Constitution. It governs all of us. Yeah. And they basically said, you know what? Maybe we'll pass on this and we'll do what we want to do. And so we go very carefully throughout. We speak about the issue of bilingual status. We call into question how it's reaffirmed in one way and then it's completely stripped away in other places. Yeah. And so we're asking the courts to say, could you speak to that and give us some clarity? We go into section 133 of the Constitution itself, which speaks about the parity of languages before the courts. And I mean, this is like a core principle of our Constitution. And then more importantly, I think in my mind, we go to the amending formula. The government of Quebec again said, Constitution, what amending formula? We're going to amend the Constitution the way we want unilaterally, and we're going to put that rule to the side.
Okay, so let me go to you, Fred, on this one, because you know how they say perception is reality? When Anglophones have a complaint about Bill 96, often on the French side, the perception is it's just angry phones. Angry phones is the term that's used. It's not a real concern. It's just Anglophones with their issues. So why don't you tell our listeners, from your perspective, the case that can resonate with Francophones as well?
Well, actually, as Dino said, I'm the one who wrote the procedure, and I'm 100% Francophone, that you can realize by my accent. And I'm totally comfortable with the work we did together. And as a Francophone, I do identify to this procedure 100% again. Why? Because I think that as citizens of Quebec, we need to care way more about the rule of law than we do right now. As a Francophone, as an Anglophone, as a Muslim, as a Catholic, as no matter what, no matter who you are, no matter what languages you talk. The thing is that as of now in Quebec, we can see that the rule of law is stripping.
What does a Francophone not know? So let's say you're at a 5 à 7 And you got a glass of wine. You're at a Saint-Cassette with colleagues, friends, family members, and maybe it's an entirely francophone environment. And you had to bring up this lawsuit to them. What does a francophone not know? And what would you say to them to get them passionate about this?
Okay, I'll give you an example. Let's say I have a Saint-Cassette with a francophone friend who's a real diehard sovereignist.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to tell him, right? I'm going to tell him this. Okay, we are sovereign. We are a country now. Quebec is a country, 100% francophone. Yeah. Would you care to respect the Constitution of Quebec? He would probably tell me, yeah, of course. See? Why? Because it's important to follow the rules, to follow the basics, to follow the rule of law. See, we agree on that. And it's exactly the same thing we're doing right now.
What did, in your estimation, what did Quebec do here in Bill 96 that is the egregious, the best example of Quebec not following rule of law?
Quebec decided unilaterally that it could change the Constitution of Canada without asking anyone. And it's not a matter of if we agree with the content of the amend. It's just the fact that you are not following the rules.
Yeah.
So we're asking the Superior Court of Quebec to make sure that Quebec government and the National Assembly follow the rules in the near future, because otherwise you get into that sort of black hole and you never know how it's going to finish, right?
And I think that's important. Like, we really, the political bias is stripped away from this lawsuit, if you will. Okay.
Yes.
We don't delve into this issue of, again, going back to the pitting of one language to the other. And what we're really saying, as Fred said in that elevator pitch, if you will, to somebody who's a Franco who believes very strongly about their would-be country of Quebec, what we're really saying is, if you allow this to happen here, that's your slippery slope, my friend.
Yeah.
It could happen in any other instance thereafter. Look, I lived through the merger of all these cities.
That's
and
right.
It takes nothing but a bill to basically take away your city. And so what this is essentially is the same idea, which is you're leaving the government of Quebec to pretty much on its whim decide what it wants to do, saying we're not going to follow these rules. And it's so key that we stay within that box of talking about rules. And then, if you want to have the political debate and if you want to have these different issues decided, so be it. We respect the legislature. We're not here questioning the power of the legislature. We're questioning the proper use of the power of the legislature.
How, Dino, in your estimation, how complicit is the federal government in all this? Because, so Quebec can try and do what it wants, but if it's the Constitution, I would think, but I'm no expert.
Yeah.
I would think, well, now you get the Minister of Justice and the Prime Minister say, whoa, in a minute, no, we can't do that, and that didn't happen here. So is this part of this lawsuit? Is there any element of that where blame goes not just to Quebec but to Ottawa?
Again, so I'll say yes, and I want to be clear. I'm speaking in my own capacity here. I'm not speaking for our plaintiffs, our clients. I will say that you saw a very muted response by the federal government to the use of the notwithstanding clause here in this province, and yet you saw the federal government within almost the same time period jump in arms when Ontario was thinking about doing it, right? Yeah. And I think that sense of not applying the rule equally to all, it infuriates people, and it really makes you wonder and question the integrity of a lot of what's going on here. So what we're trying to do is bring it back to the rules that we all know are out there, black and white, and we could try to stay within the lines.
All right, we're back here on the Elias Macco Show, joined by Frédéric Bérard and Dino Mazzoni. They're both with Gattuso, Bouchard, Mazzoni, and they are challenging Bill 96 on behalf of Hampstead and the town of Mount Royal. So there have been a lot of challenges so far to Bill 96, school boards challenge. We've seen all types of things. And I think people in life are impatient, right? We want results. Fred, how can this lawsuit proceed? And what's the timeline here where we could see a court give us a ruling that maybe it's even temporary, but where we say, oh, geez, courts are listening? Because I think a lot of us say, oh, this is going to take a decade to get resolution.
No,
Okay.
not a decade. I would. It's hard to tell because we have problem with resources, as we know, as of now. But I would figure that we could probably get a decision by the end of next year.
Okay.
I would say,
And
maybe early 25.
What's the decision that? So if you get your way, and so end of next year, 2025, you get a decision and it goes your way. What would that decision be, and how would it change things for Hampstead and for TMR?
Well, usually what we're asking, and Dino explained it pretty well. We're asking for clarity. We're asking the court to tell us what is that law, what is the impact of Bill 96 for those two municipalities. So this is what we're asking. Part of it. The other part is the amending formula we discussed.
Gotcha.
But so what's going to change right away for TMR and Hampstead is the following. Say, okay, here's the clarity we needed to move forward, because as of now, we just don't know what we can do according to the law, which is quite an encroachment to the rule of law when you think about it. Because when you talk about rule of law, you're talking about clarity. And as of now, we don't see that type of clarity because National Assembly just botched it, let's say.
Yeah, and they put it through, and then it kept getting worse and worse. By the way, I went through the process. So, Dino, on the ground, right? There's one thing. Okay, there's law, but then in real life, how it plays out.
Right.
So, what is happening in Hampstead, in TMR, that has led for the mayors there saying, you know what, this is affecting our day to day? What's the real effects of Bill 96?
Well, just in terms of calling into question the issue of bilingual status, right, of municipalities, don't forget.
Let me turn on my microphone. But
Right.
I'm under the understanding.
Yeah.
You know, the mechanism was you pass that resolution, you keep it.
Yeah, well, that's not what Bill 96 says, right?
Tell us
so, I
more.
mean, Bill 96 essentially, like I said, talks about bilingual status, keeps it there, and then slowly rips away in every other provision thereafter. So the point is that if you're a city, if you're a director general, a mayor, you want to have your meetings for your residents in English and French, you want to have your agendas put out in English and French, you want to communicate with your employees. I mean, all that's called into question. And so this is the real, if you want to call it, practical effect of this law vis-a-vis these municipalities. I want to add one point to what Fred said. You know, it's clear we obviously want to get a decision out of this motion that we filed, and certainly we're not playing for a participation badge. Let's be clear. We're looking to win this case. And I think that is something we really need to stress to the residents of Hampstead, to the residents of Mount Royal. We got a message very loud and clear from their mayors. We're looking to win here. We're not looking to play for, like I said, a badge.
Yeah.
The other thing is that when you file a lawsuit like this, it makes its way through the ranks of those who pay attention to the law.
Yeah.
It makes its way to the Attorney General's desk in Quebec. It makes its way to lawyers who craft laws. It has a pervasive effect in terms of how maybe future laws get drafted and the positioning of the government as it goes forward with these lawsuits. So we believe when you look at this brief, and we certainly invite all of our confrères and our consoeurs out there to look at the brief. They can certainly reach any one of us. We'll be more than happy to provide it to them. It is a very strong legal brief that speaks to issues of law and calls into question the really bad work that was done by the legislature of Quebec.
So you know what? When you talk to me about what that we had officially we still have bilingual status, but
Yes.
then when you look at the bill, everything's into question.
Right.
It reminds me of the CJAD issue. Okay. So the Quebec government says with a straight face, look, you now have access. You still have access. Francophones,
Yeah.
you can still go to English CJEPs.
Yeah.
Right. So they can say that, and then you look at you go into the details of the bill. The bill has hard registration caps, number-wise, not percentage, on how many Francophones can go to English CJEPs. So as the population of Quebec rises, lower percentage. Eventually, as the population grows, 0% of Francophones will be able to go to English CJEPs because there simply won't be room. There's hard cap numbers.
Yeah.
And we got so focused on, let's add French courses. They want to add. I'm like, guys, forest trees, you're missing the point
Big
here.
time. Yeah, absolutely.
So this is what.
Well, this is why words matter. I mean, this is the business we're in. We're in the business of the details, right? And so you got to look at these laws. By the way, which is one of the reasons I think Bill 96 got passed. Yeah. People were just not paying attention to this thing until it got passed. So it's a real shame because they were following a lot of the assurances of the government saying, don't worry. Well, guess what? You should worry.
Fred, so we got Hampstead TMR. Yeah. But there are a lot of bilingual municipalities. Is this now? Are you now saying, hey, I don't know, I'm just Westmount, Montreal West. So should other municipalities be joining this fight?
Not only municipalities, everyone who cares about the rule of law is welcome to call our office.
Yeah. I mean, this is it. It's not just, by the way, more the merrier. Come on board. We got a great legal proceeding here. And as Fred said, there are definitely more than just cities affected by this. And so we want other organizations who want to join us, be part of it. Let's put as much pressure as we can to bear on this issue. And certainly people can reach us at our law firm, gattuzzogbm.com. Check out our website. Call me up. I'm more than happy to do this.
This is jump ball to either of you that want to take this question.
And we can add that the two mayors here, Peter Malouf and Jerry Levy, decided to join the procedure not as mayor but as citizen.
That's a very important
citizens
point.
who care about the rule of law.
Correct. They're there as personal co-plaintiffs with their cities. So they put their name to this.
So are there just are there cups of coffee happening with other mayors saying, hey, we need more voice? Like what? Like, is there because right now you just said, hey, give us a call. Phone lines are open. Give us a call. But is there actually an active sort of full court press to get everyone people?
Not a full court press. We're not looking for clients. We have two clients who but here's the thing. I'd be coy if I would try to suggest otherwise. Certainly, let's just say we've had conversations in the last few weeks since, for example, Hampstead first passed its resolution to give us a mandate. Our phone has been ringing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Fred, tell me about your faith in the system here, because I look at how the courts eventually handle these things. Eventually, it may take a while sometimes, but I say more often than not, the courts are going to get this right. So as you look at this challenge and the steps that it's going to have to go through in the Quebec system, and then I guess Supreme Court of Canada at the end of the day, right? Do you have faith that the system will get this right? Because this issue is politicized, and sometimes politics gets into play.
Well, two things. First of all, if I did not have faith, I would not have filed that procedure. That's the first thing. The second thing, I do have faith in the rule of law. I do have faith in justice. I do have faith in judges. And I can tell you one thing. If there's one institution now in Quebec that works out pretty well, this is the judiciary power. It's not perfect, obviously, but it's certainly the best institution we have, and we need to preserve it from what's happening right now.
Fellas, keep us abreast of the developments. I do want to know what happens with this lawsuit, and this was a really, really nice discussion.
And we appreciate it very much. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So the voices you just heard over the last half hour or so, Frédéric Bérard and Dino Mazzoni from Gattuso Bouchard Mazzoni that are behind this lawsuit.